Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 7th of September 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the Pakistan security outlook vis-a-vis what has been happening in the last few days. 12 terrorists have been killed who attacked two Pakistani military posts located closer to the Pakistan-Afghan border in the general area of Kalash in district Chitral. This is, of course, one. Then, of course, we all know what happened at the Torkham. The Torkham border between Pakistan and Afghanistan has now been closed following a clash between the security forces of both the countries, which left a Frontier Corps soldier injured. And what happened was the Afghan side was trying to create a post that was at a certain height that went against the agreement that had been reached between the two sides. And then 5 alleged terrorists of the TTP have been killed during an operation by the Balochistan CTD in the Ashburg area of Quetta. What is happening as far as the pouring of terrorists from the Afghan area into Pakistan is concerned? Does Afghanistan not understand Pakistan's security apparatus or Pakistan's security concerns? Why is there a delay as far as what Pakistan has been asking from Afghanistan from happening? We'll be discussing that and more during our first segment. In our second story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about the Air Force Day that is being commemorated across Pakistan today. This is, of course, being observed with national pride to commemorate the efforts of our Jawans of the Pakistan Air Force, who have contributed many a times during the good and the bad times, during the peace times and the war times, to defend Pakistani motherland against the enemies of the state. In the 1965 war also, the valiant Pakistani pilots, despite the limited resources that they had, repelled Indian air attacks, but also handed India a resounding defeat. Who can forget Muhammad Mahmood Alam, otherwise known as MM Alam, who shot down 5 Indian Air Force Hawker Hunter Mk-56 fighters in less than a minute. He is a legend, and Pakistan Air Force has so many such legends. This is going to be our second story. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about a certain circular that was published apparently, but it is a fake circular, and this has been confirmed by the Minister for Information, Murtaza Solanki, who has dismissed this notification that is circulating online that falsely claims that the government has imposed a ban on the currency notes of rupees 5,000. He has termed this circular as fake news. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about Donald Trump, the United States of America, and how a liberal group has filed a lawsuit to bar the former US president from the primary ballot in Colorado using or citing the 14th Amendment, which is likely the initial step in a legal challenge that seems destined for the United States Supreme Court. Troubles ahead for Donald Trump? Let's see. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the security concerns that Pakistan has vis-a-vis Afghanistan. We've had many incidents that have been happening and the outpouring of terrorist outfits from across the Afghan border. That, and of course the Torkham clashes, the Torkham border clashes that have happened, increase the concerns as far as the Afghan side is concerned when it concerns Pakistan and its security apparatus. More in the following report.
Pakistan is grappling with an increase in militant attacks emanating from across the border. Today's terrorist threat is more ideologically diverse and geographically diffuse than that of 2 decades ago. In a recent report, the UN Security Council's Counterterrorism Committee classified South Asia as a high-threat region with several states suffering attacks. Amid heightened threat environment, 12 terrorists were killed who attacked 2 Pakistani military posts located closer to Pakistan-Afghanistan border in the general area of Kalash, district Chitral. According to the ISPR, a large group of terrorists equipped with the latest weapons attacked 2 Pakistani military posts in the area. The valiant soldiers fought bravely and repulsed the attacks, inflicting heavy casualties to the terrorists. During the intense exchange of fire, 4 brave soldiers, having fought gallantly, embraced Shahadat. At least 2 people, including a Frontier Corps official, were injured when a gun battle erupted between Pakistan and Afghan border forces, shutting the busiest trade crossing between the 2 countries at Torkham. Separately, 5 terrorists of the bandit TTP were killed during an operation by the Balochistan Counter-Terrorism Department. Caretaker Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqaqi has reaffirmed Pakistan's unshakable resolve to eradicate terrorism. It is pertinent to mention here that the interim Afghan government is expected to fulfill its obligations and deny the use of Afghan soil by terrorists for perpetuating the acts of terrorism against Pakistan.
To discuss that in detail, we've been joined by Naveed Aman Khan Sahab. He's a senior analyst. Naveed Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Naveed Sahab, just a few days back, our Chief of the Army Staff, General Asim Munir Sahab, had vowed that the nation cannot be coerced by cowardly tactics of terrorists who hold the misbelief that they can challenge the iron resolve of the soldiers and the writ of the state. In the light of what he said, in the light of the incidents that have happened, what, in your point of view, is the current counter-terror strategy of Pakistan, and what should it be in the current apparatus that Pakistan is dealing with?
Khalid, in fact, Pakistan has been facing terrorism for the last 30 years, and on the western border in particular. Pakistan has been uncomfortable on the eastern border, but then that uncomfort shifted to the western border along Afghanistan, and that is why Pakistan decided to establish fence on Pakistan-Afghanistan border during Qamar Javed Bajwa Sab's tenure. And it was very, very important and very right decision to establish that fence, because we have never been very comfortable with Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan the terrorists have been infiltrating in Pakistan and have been launching the attacks on the Pakistan armed forces and the security forces. Even then, during the establishment of that fence, they have been attacking on them. What does it mean? It means that they want an open border, and they want the frequent and very comfortable movement across the borders. Why? The reason is this, that those who are the terrorists, they have very safe havens in Afghanistan. They come, they attack, and then they go back to their safe havens. And who is protecting them? Definitely some power is behind them to protect. And who is that power? That is, I would believe that power is Afghan Taliban, because Afghan Taliban and TTP are the two sides of one coin. It is Pakistan chapter and that is Afghanistan chapter, and both are strengthening and collaborating with each other. Pakistan has categorically, for many times, have made it very clear to the Afghan authorities that Pakistan will never bear such sort of support of Afghan Taliban to the TTP, and has said that Pakistan don't force Pakistan to take that level of measures which may create further rift between the two countries.
You know, you talk of rift between the two countries. The fact remains that despite different delegations from the Pakistani side that have gone to the Afghan side, and the Afghan side also reiterating that it will do the needful. We all remember the statement that came from the Afghan Supremo, as far as that if anything happens in Pakistan, any such attack, that is not called jihad. In fact, it is something totally different. And yet, openly stated this. This said, we still see attacks from the TTP happening in Pakistan. We still see a certain attitude vis-a-vis of Afghanistan towards Pakistan. In all of this scenario, the role of our gallant forces has been quite important. How do you see this response by our forces as far as the different threats that are emanating from the Afghan side?
Khalid, in fact, saying is something different and believing is something different. Practicing is something different. Afghan authorities have said verbally that they will not support TTP or any other group to waste any attack or go for so-called jihad out of the Afghanistan. But practically they have continually been supporting Pakistan, TTP against Pakistan. During the last month of August, 99 terrorist attacks are seen in Pakistan. Out of 99, 5 were the suicidal attacks, and all the attacks were claimed by the TTP. In 2014, the maximum attacks were launched in Pakistan. But after 2014, 2023 August was the worst month of terrorism in Pakistan. Besides many assurances of Afghan government, and besides many reminders from the Pakistan government and the Pakistan armed forces to Afghan government and Afghan armed forces regarding the security measures of Pakistan, nothing has happened in Afghanistan in favor of Pakistan and Pakistan armed forces. Now, what we need to do? Pakistan has beat a lot. Now enough is enough. Pakistan cannot bear this response or this retaliation any longer, because Pakistan has faced that level of damage which Pakistan cannot even bear it. Pakistan nation has done a lot for Afghanistan. 3 to 4 decades back, Pakistan bear the pressure of Afghan refugees in Pakistan, but now Pakistan refugees, Pakistan need to send that refugees back to Afghanistan, because that pressure Pakistan
the refugee
cannot.
question aside, the fact remains that the Afghan interim government of the Afghan Taliban also needs to understand the security apparatus that is present within their country, and how the insurgents, you might call it, the terrorist outfits you might call it, that have a safe harbor in Afghanistan, are using the Afghan soil and are launching attacks against Pakistan through that soil. Now, I'd like to also understand, when the US left the Afghan territories in 2021, in August of 2021, they left, as far as the reports are concerned, around $7 billion worth of ammunition, arms and such equipment that are now being used by these terror outfits. I'd like to refer to what John Kirby said. He's a National Security Council spokesperson. He has blamed the Afghan forces for abandoning military equipment when the Taliban took over the country. Now that the TTP is armed with the latest equipment that the US forces left, do you feel that the US shares the blame for the current situation?
In fact, the US never claims never take that responsibility regarding the arms left by US in Afghanistan when they left Afghanistan. The TTP outfits, they have very safe haven in Kunard and Nuristan, and Kunard and Nuristan are the provinces of Afghanistan along Pakistan-Afghanistan border, and they are very comfortable there. They attack and they go back to those places. When US forces left Afghanistan, they left a big number of weapons, sophisticated weapons and latest modern weapons in Afghanistan, for whom they left it. It was their necessity. If they were leaving, they should have taken that weapon back to America, but they left it to Afghanistan, and those who attacked on that heap of weapons in Afghanistan, they took it, and they are now using those weapons against Pakistan. Those terrorists, the TTP terrorists, they also took those weapons, and they were provided those weapons, and those weapons are being used by them. Pakistan armed forces, when attacked the terrorists in Chatral incident, the weapons recovered from the terrorists are those weapons which were left by the Americans in Afghanistan, or those are the most modern and latest available weapons.
Even 2 United Nations counterterrorism officials have recently told the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, that the IS and the affiliates that include the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan are now armed with NATO caliber weapons and pose a serious threat to the security zones in the entire region. How can Pakistan defend itself from such a threat, in your point of view?
Pakistan will have to have also that level of caliber weapons in Pakistan, and the armed forces, the security forces should have those weapons to operate against the terrorists along Pakistan-Afghanistan border or elsewhere. Secondly, Pakistan need to monitor on intelligence basis as well. Pakistan will have to enhance the intelligence based operations in the region. That will definitely help Pakistan armed forces, and this is an open war now. Pakistan is now in an open war situation. Pakistan has been facing it for the last couple of decades, and now it is...
and to say that Pakistan has harbored, as you yourself said, millions of Afghan refugees, documented, and so many who are undocumented. And Pakistan has opened its arms for all of those millions of refugees since the last few decades. This is not a way to repay them. But I'd like to now refer to the Torkham clash, what happened at the border. In your point of view, why are the Afghan authorities resorting to such violent tactics?
The reason is this: because Pakistan has established that fence on Pakistan-Afghanistan border. This is one thing which Afghans, they don't want that fencing because they want the frequent infiltration in Pakistan. And for that way, they want to have frequent and very comfortable smuggling from Pakistan and from Afghanistan to Pakistan, number one. Number two is this, that the Armed Forces Chief has categorically given some statements during the last 1 week that Pakistan will establish or will strengthen its economy. The currency will be strengthened, the smuggling will be monitored, and those gates.
Is it the smuggling angle that is perturbing the Afghan side?
This is one of the main, because they believe that if such measures are enforced, they will be in trouble. But you believe me, Khalid, Pakistan is in very strong position. Pakistan Armed Forces are very vigilant.
What happens to the cross-border trade between Pakistan and Afghanistan? Now that the Torkham border is closed, there can be no trade from to and fro. Do you think that will resume shortly? Do you feel there will be an agreement between both the sides? What is in your point
of view? There is no agreement between both of the sides. And Afghanistan is not even acknowledged by UN. And other countries as well. Pakistan is the only country which is now, which has been having very kind and cooperative attitude towards Afghanistan. And Afghanistan and Afghan government, Afghan nation, they are very thankful to Pakistan. And Pakistan cannot bear this retaliation or this attitude from Afghanistan. They depend on Pakistan-Afghanistan border. The commodities from Pakistan to Afghanistan are very frequent, which needs to be stopped. And an Armed Forces Chief has categorically said that from Pakistan to Afghanistan and Afghanistan to Pakistan, smuggling will be stopped.
Right.
And one thing is very important, that dollar. The dollar will not be smuggled any longer anymore from Pakistan to Afghanistan, and it will give strength to Pakistan, and it will weaken Afghan economy as well.
All right. Finally, what I'd like to also understand is that there has been a report by the United Nations Security Council recently that talks about the Afghan Taliban emboldening the TTP since they came into power in 2021. Do you feel the Afghan Taliban want to stop the transnational terrorism that has been affecting countries such as Pakistan?
No, I don't think. Because, the problem is this, that the Afghan nation, Afghan government, Afghan authorities, they don't understand the ground realities, the mechanism of the regional politics. They don't understand the regional political politics.
All right.
If you understand the Chinese stance. Chinese are very much concerned about terrorism in the region.
Of course.
They are not ready to face any sort of terrorism any longer.
It's a very complex situation, and the fact remains that what is extremely important in this day and age is that the Afghan side understands what is happening on its soil, from its soil, that is affecting countries such as Pakistan. And it needs to stop it before it is way too late, before Pakistan also pulls its hand from helping Afghanistan or cooperating with Afghanistan as it has been doing. The situation is becoming more and more grave with every passing day, and with events such as what happened in Chitral, what happened in Balochistan, where 5 TTP terrorists were gunned down, and the Torkham border clash. There are so many events that are happening one by one that are contraindicative as far as the situation is concerned.
They are now used to attack on Pakistan, and from Pakistan they will be encouraged and they will start attacking either on the Chinese border or the other, their neighbors. It will worsen the situation.
That is true, and let's hope that before the situation worsens, that Pakistan will do the needful with other countries in the region that also do not want this situation to further aggravate or become more violent. Thank you so much, Naveed Aman Khan Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this current counter-terrorism initiatives that Pakistan will be taking in the wake of all these different incidents that have been happening, whether it be in Chitral, whether it be in Balochistan, whether it be at the Torkham border. And Pakistan is extremely concerned, and so are countries such as the United States of America, on what is happening from the Afghan side into Pakistan. Let's hope better sense prevails. Thank you very much, Naveed Aman Khan Sahab. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our second story, and that concerns the Air Force Day. It's an important day because we understand the importance of our forces especially the three forces, the armed forces, the army, the navy, and of course the air force. And today is the Air Force Day. Who can forget MM Alam Saab? Who can forget all the other valiant fighters who have laid down their lives for defending the motherland? Today we celebrate those and all the others who stand for the Pakistan Air Force. More in the following report.
The role of Pakistan Air Force in 1965 war is a chapter that history would remember with reverence. The skies became a theatre of courage as the initial chapter of the narrative unfolded on September 1st, 1965, when two F-86 Sabres, guided by squadron leader Sarfraz Ahmad Rafiqi and Flight Lieutenant Imtiaz Bhatti, defied the odds and with their professional mastery, downed 4 Indian vampire fighters in the Cham sector. Just 2 days later, a new chapter unfolded as the skies witnessed a surge in the activity at supersonic speeds. Two F-104s flown by Flight Lieutenant Ikramullah and Flying Officer Abbas Mirza created their own tails up above when an Indian fighter jet faced its fate. Finding itself in a situation it could not escape, and force landed at Basur. The Indian fighter jet, once a potent symbol, now stood as a trophy of valor in Pakistan. On September 7, squadron leader MM Alam downed 5 Indian Hawker hunters in a mere 60 seconds in Sargodha. The PAF etched its name deeper into history with accomplishments like striking heavy guns at Atari, neutralizing threats at Wagah, and shattering Indian aircraft at distant airfields. When the Indian forces launched offensive at Lahore, PAF emerged as the valiant guardians of the homeland. The BRP Canal, once a peaceful waterway, now saw intense fighting. In the midst of ferocious battle, PAF disrupted the Indian formations, altering the course of the conflict and safeguarding Lahore's integrity. With uncanny precision, they provided close support to the Pakistan Army on the ground. With each engagement, PAF's legacy grew, resulting in unparalleled victories that continue to shine brightly in the annals of air power history. Even after 58 years, PAF's combination remains firm on India's mind, despite having a larger fleet. Pakistan Air Force stands resolute in its mission.
To discuss more on this very important day, we've been joined by AVM retired Ikramullah Bhatti Saab. He's a senior analyst and he is in the studios. Ikramullah Bhatti Saab, thank you very much to have joined us.
Pleasure.
It had been a long time that we had come face to face in our show. So welcome back to Newsroom. Let's begin with the importance of this day, that is the Air Force Day, the 7th of September. How, in your point of view, is the nation paying tribute to its Shaheens? Are we doing enough? Do we need to do more?
Well, it is well established that no armed forces anywhere in the world can fight alone unless their nation is behind them. And Pakistan Air Force, ever since Pakistan's independence, had established its professionalism and its courage to defend the country. And we have seen that over the years, people of Pakistan have been loving their Air Force, respecting it, and cherishing its accomplishments and the sacrifices that it has made all along. So I think people of Pakistan are well behind their Air Force, and the Air Force takes a lot of pride and strength from this love.
Whenever there's an aggression by any enemy or any foreign force, the Air Force is the first force that comes to the forefront to defend our motherland. How can we forget MM Alam Saab, 1965, Sargodha, downing down 5 Indian aircrafts in less than 60 seconds. How does the world, including Pakistan, revere this hunter of the hunters?
Certainly, it is a legend now, and of course, the day it happened on the 7th of September 1965, it was unbelievable, but it was recorded, and ever since it has been noted and respected all over the world amongst the professional circles and in all the air forces, that yes, Pakistan did achieve this feat, and we had an ace to show to the world. And ever since, the professionalism of Pakistan Air Force, its courage, its ability to meet and challenge a much bigger enemy and come out successful has been established, has been respected, has been acknowledged by the world. And I think that is what derives the strength that PF has today and the respect that it commands amongst the air forces. It is by virtue of legends like MM.
What are the principles that are enshrined in the young Shaheens when they are trained in the Pakistan Air Force? When examples like that of MM Alam are given, when examples like that of Flight Lieutenant Yunus Hussain, who also fought single-handedly 6 enemy aircraft, shot down 2 hunters. What is the basic methodology through which the young Shaheens are trained?
You see, primarily it is the purpose, it is the objective for what you fight for, and that is what actually drives your conduct in any conflict. And then of course the way you are trained, how you operate your weapon system, and then you have to look back at the traditions and the fine values that your predecessors have set in the past, and you have to live up to those fine values and those traditions that have been carved out by your predecessors, and which also not only empower you, which not only encourage you, but also are a beacon of light, a source of guidance for you to pursue excellence in your profession and meet any challenge that the enemy may throw at you. So I think these traditions, these values that we have before us, set out by our predecessors, are one single source of encouragement, of an ability or an urge for the youngsters to seek professional skill, professional excellence in order to meet the challenge that they come across.
What are those core values that you are talking about, just for the viewers, because a lot of them don't understand or want to maybe engage themselves as part of the Pakistan Air Force? What are the core values of the Pakistan Air Force?
Well, you see, professional excellence is the value number one. And then of course you can achieve this through training, through exercises, through knowing your enemy. And when we look at our predecessors, we see their supreme sacrifice, the fine professionalism that they demonstrated. So all this adds up to the core value of our PAF professional, that he is always will be faced with an enemy which is many times bigger, maybe better equipped. So he has to face that challenge. For that he has to be prepared, and he has to be trained well, he has to be a thorough professional, and he should be willing to sacrifice. And of course he seeks guidance from his predecessors. So these are the values that actually make a professional of Pakistan Air Force.
How instrumental was Pakistan Air Force's role in the 1965 war? We all remember how the Indian side had said that they wanted to have a cup of tea in the Gymkhana after having, vanquished or conquered Lahore, but that never managed to happen because our armed forces very valiantly defended their motherland. But how important was the role of the Pakistan Air Force?
Well, I think there were 4 very important events or incidents that had actually set the stage well before September 65, which actually led to the outcome of the conflict between the 2 air forces. Firstly, our viewers would recall that in 1959, on 10th of April, Flight Lieutenant Yunus, ably assisted by his radar controller, pilot of the Rabnawaz, they intercepted and shot down reconnaissance Indian camera on Eid day, which fell close to, I think, Arwat or Gujar Khan. And then we see that on 24th of June 1965, an intruding Oregon aircraft of Indian Air Force was made to force land by PAF fighters close to Jangshai near Karachi. And then we come across the famous battle of Shaheed Sarfraz Rafiqi with the help of his number 2 then Flight Lieutenant Imtiaz Bhatti against several Indian aircraft, in which they were able to shoot down 4 Indian vampires in one sortie. And then on the 2 days later, on the 3rd of September, we find that an Indian NAT was made to force land by a PF F-104 at Pasteur airfield. So these 4 events actually set the stage, whereas when you compare the numbers of the two sides, Pakistan Air Force had 130 combat aircraft and the Indians had 540 or thereabout, more than 4 times. But the PF was well prepared for this. The Commander-in-Chief at that time knew what was coming, and he prepared the Air Force well for it. We had Asghar Khan before that, who had made the war plans. He had actually trained and equipped the Air Force for that day. And Noor Khan actually executed all those plans and led from the front. And it would be interesting for the viewers to know that during Operation Gibraltar, when the Pakistani tribesmen or other infiltrators who had actually gone into India and they needed help, then Noor Khan was in the first C-130 at night, which dropped reinforcements to those elements. So he led from the front. And then of course when the war started from 6th of September onwards, 7th September that we celebrate was the day in which Pakistan Air Force actually established its supremacy on the Indian Air Force. And that day onwards, although the Indians did recognize and identify Sargodha as the center of gravity of Pakistan Air Force, and on that day they made very concerted efforts to neutralize Sargodha, but they lost and suffered a very heavy attrition. And that was the last day and the first day in which Indian Air Force ever made a daylight attack at Sargodha. And hence that day onwards we celebrate 7th of September as the Air Force Day, because Air Force actually, Pakistan Air Force actually completed its victory on the 2nd day of the war. And thereafter PF aircraft would patrol over Pathankot and challenge them, and but no one would come up to meet them. So PF was able to establish superiority, air superiority in the war, and which in fact enabled Pakistan land forces to go ahead with their land operation without any interference from the Indian Air Force, either in their offensive or in their defensive operations.
Now, during the war of 1965, Pakistan Air Force, for our viewers, destroyed 104 Indian aircrafts on ground and in the air, damaged more than 10, not counting the losses. There are so many key hallmarks when it comes to the Pakistan Air Force and the 1965 warfare, and of course the pre-1965 warfare as well, that you have highlighted while discussing this very important day. How can we not talk about the Indian humiliation in 1965 when the then Air Chief Marshal retired P.C. Lal, who was Vice Chief of the Air Staff, points to the lack of coordination between the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army. Do you feel this humiliation of the Indian side sparked some kind of accountability in the Indian Air Force? Have they realized their mistakes? Have they understood who is the better of the two?
Well, unfortunately, when you look at the events ever since, and specifically when you look at the Operation Swift retort of Pakistan Air Force 4 years ago on 27th of February, we find that the Indians have still not learned their lesson. And it was in fact very amusing to listen to the Indian Prime Minister saying that if they had Rafale at that time, the result would have been different. I mean, which clearly shows the lack of trust in their own Air Force by the highest leadership of the country. So I think the Indians have had a very well structured, well trained Air Force, but unfortunately it was not used the way it could have been or should have been used. I mean, like if the Indians did decide to invade Pakistan early morning on the 6th of September, the whole day the Air Force the Indian Air Force did nothing practically. And which actually was very surprising for PAF as to where is the Indian Air Force.
Because they do not have the fighting morale, they do not have the spirit that our Air Force, that our forces have, and they cannot counter that in any way whatsoever. Let's come to February 2020. You mentioned that, and you said, you talked about Operation Swift Retort and how the Indians continue to do what they do. Do you feel that the way Pakistan reacted in February of 2020, the message was given squarely and clearly by the Pakistan Air Force to Modi's war hysteria?
Certainly, they most definitely assumed that there would be no reaction from Pakistan, whereas Pakistan had clearly stated that it will not think of retaliating, but it will actually retaliate. And they still went ahead with that operation, which they had rehearsed very well, but unfortunately they did not succeed in their mission, and there were several errors in that, and at the end of the day they claimed a success which was nowhere on the ground, and Pakistan did take a team of foreign defense attaches just to show them the area where the Indian weapons had landed, and except for a crow and few trees there was no damage on the ground. And then of course it was obligatory on Pakistan Air Force to respond, because the government of Pakistan at that time had said that yes, PAF must respond. And but when you look at the losses that Pakistan had suffered, few trees and a crow,
of course.
So it had to,
contrary to what India had been claiming.
Yes, I mean, they had claimed that a terrorist camp has been destroyed and 300 terrorists have been killed, but there was none over there. So Pakistan was of course in a difficult situation as to how to respond, because as per the principle of proportionate response, we could not launch a campaign to destroy a few trees and kill a crow.
That is so true. Now looking back at 27th of February 2019, of course the Operation Swift Retort, then looking a bit behind and looking at how Pakistan Air Force has been valiantly defending Pakistan's motherland through examples such as the 1965 war, of which we celebrate the 7th of September as a very, very important day, that is the Air Force Day. Operations such as what happened in 1965, in 2019 and in between and before 1965, how important, significant have they been in modern air warfare history as far as the subcontinent is concerned?
Well, you see, soon after partition, when Pakistan Air Force inherited its equipment, weapons, manpower, and of course we were faced with a situation in Kashmir where the Indians had landed their troops and Pakistan had to make do with the tribals only, and then of course there had to be some air supply operation carried out over there, and we felt that we will be very highly outnumbered, not only in numbers but also by strength in terms of air capability. So the Air Force started to build from there on, and it felt quite insecure vis-a-vis its enemy. And of course, after joining CETO and CENTO, and of course the Americans came in, and we were supplied with the American aircraft and equipment and the radars, and of course Pakistan Air Force got trained, and at this Air Force was very clear as to who's the enemy and what are his designs. So they equipped themselves well, they trained themselves well, they planned themselves well, and they were ready for this eventuality which actually happened in September 65, and that is why they were able to fare better than the enemy, despite a terrible numerical disparity between the two. And I think it's because of its sound training, equipment, and motivation, and above all preparation for the mission that they actually undertook.
And that is what Pakistan Air Force stands for, that and so many other values that make it what it is, and that is what the Indian Air Force and the Indians fear generally at large, because they have tasted it many a times, the last being in 2019. Thank you so very much, Vice Marshal Retired Ikramullah Bhatti Sahab, Senior Analyst, to have joined us, to have gone back in through memory lane and have talked to us about what happened in 1965, before 1965, and how important has the role of Pakistan Air Force been then and now. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to have joined us. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns our Interim Information Minister Murtaza Solanki Sahab, who has dismissed a notification that is circulating online that falsely claims that the government has imposed a ban of rupees on the rupees 5,000 currency notes, terming it as fake news. I'll quote what he said. He said, "This is fake. The government of Pakistan shall act against the people spreading this kind of fake news to create chaos." This, of course, circular seemed as if it was all official, and you can see that this fake circular, as it is, it was circulated amongst all the different people and journalists, and many then shared it and published it and posted it on different social media platforms. But now it has been told to us by the right official circles that this in fact is fake. There is nothing, no process in course in order to ban the 5,000 rupees currency notes. So that puts things on right as far as this news that had been circulating is concerned. And let's come finally to the United States of America and the former US President Donald Trump. A liberal group has now filed a lawsuit to bar the former US President Donald Trump from the primary ballot that is going to be held in Colorado. The lawsuit cites the 14th Amendment. And of course, this is the initial step in a legal challenge that seems destined for the US Supreme Court, of course, which means that it will be taken to the Supreme Court, and they will decide whether he can in fact go and contest the election in Colorado, the primary ballot in Colorado, or not. This will, of course, jolt an already unsettled 2024 primary campaign that features a lead Republican candidate facing 4 separate criminal cases as well. Is that going to affect the political future of Donald Trump or not? Is that going to affect how the Republicans are going to vote? Is that going to affect how the Republicans as a party is going to reform itself in the future? That only time will tell. In the next few weeks, we are going to see what the Supreme Court, US Supreme Court decides as far as Colorado and Donald Trump and his primary is concerned. But it's very interesting to note how examples such as these shape the future of a country such as the United States of America. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Till then, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.